I've watched Avengers Endgame at least a dozen times or more. And every time I come back to it, I notice the same thing. Some scenes in this movie are a perfect 10, absolute peak Marvel. But the movie around those scenes, that's where it starts to feel different. Everyone remembers Endgame as this unstoppable epic, which it is. Rewatching it now without all the hype, without the crowd, you realize it's much stranger than people like to admit, maybe. I'm serious here. I've seen this movie probably everywhere: cinema, rewatches, random evenings where I just, threw it on. So, this is a nostalgia talking for me. This is what happens when you know a movie inside out, and I think I know this movie pretty well. When Endgame came out, it didn't feel like just another Marvel release. This was different. It felt like an event. Midnight screenings, packed theaters, people clapping like they personally contributed to the visual effects budget, basically. Watching it again now, alone on the couch, that shared energy is gone. And once this is gone, the movie shifts. Not worse, just different. What really stands out on this rewatch for me is how slow this movie actually is. People remember the final battle, but most of Endgame is just characters sitting around dealing with loss, talking, waiting, processing. I mean, this isn't Infinity War sprinting from one moment to another. Endgame takes its time, sometimes a bit too much, if you ask me. And yeah, the time travel thing, it's a bit shaky, the logic barely holds together. Not that I'm a time travel expert, but And if you think about it for more than 10 seconds, I think it sort of collapses under its own logic, but the movie clearly doesn't care. Time travel isn't there to make sense, really, even though it makes somewhat sense, I guess. But it's there to move characters through moments the audience already loves. It's the nostalgia delivery, not the science fiction talking. Now, when Endgame works, oh boy, it really works. Like Captain America lifting the hammer, it's still perfect, easy, 10 out of 10. Not because it's shocking, everyone felt it coming really, but because it feels extremely earned. That moment doesn't scream for applause, it just lands. Boom, there it is. Captain America lifting the hammer. Awesome. And then there's the portal scene. Doctor Strange opening those rings, the music builds. I love the music, by the way. I think it's called Portals. It's in my playlist. I think it's one of the best, well, soundtracks, scores, whatever you want to call it, I've ever heard. I love it. And Doctor Strange is opening those rings, and suddenly everyone is back. Is it manipulative? Yeah, sure it is. Of course it is. Does it work? Absolutely. The scene is Marvel knowing exactly which emotional buttons to push and pushing them all at once at the perfect moment. But there's that moment, you know the one. All female heroes line up. The glove gets passed along. All these chicks suddenly posing like they are in a magazine spread, really. And, look, I get what they were trying to do: representation, visibility, a moment, But on rewatch, it's a bit eye roll inducing. It's a bit cringe. Like, I don't know if they should have done it like that. And not because they're women, don't get me wrong, but because the scene feels way too over designed, not earned at all. These characters barely interact before this, and now they suddenly need to team up only when the movie decides it's time to make a statement. Especially in the middle of an absolute crazy battle, chaos, where logic is already barely holding on. I mean, yeah, you can almost feel the movie tapping you on the shoulder, going, hey, pay attention, this is important. And Endgame usually works best when it doesn't do any of those things. Rewatching also makes this weak spot a little bit more clearer, a little bit more on the nose. And Thor is the biggest one for me, really. I like the idea of a god completely broken by failure. That's an interesting concept, but this quote unquote joke, it sticks around a little bit too long for my taste. The movie keeps poking at his pain instead of letting it just exist. It's not awful, it's just uneven a little bit, not a big fan of that. And the biggest difference on rewatch, though, isn't a single scene, really. It's the absence of the audience. That's pretty much the main thing for me. The first time I saw Endgame, the crowd did half of the emotional work: the gasps, the laughter, the silence, the applause, the yelling. And watching it alone, the movie has to carry all of that weight by itself. It's true, it really is. And that's when it clicks. Endgame was built to be experienced together. That doesn't mean it stops being good at home. No, not at all. It just means it hits differently. That's also why, for me, Infinity War still edges it out, just by a little bit. Infinity War is leaner, meaner, and I think it's easier to rewatch. Endgame is heavier. It makes sense, of course, I get that. It's slower, it's more sentimental. Infinity War punches you in the face, Endgame gives you a long hug and closes the door on you. So, rating wise, where do I stand? Well, I still give Endgame a solid 8.5 out of 10. And, Infinity War, I think, is a little bit better, just slightly, maybe a 9. And some scenes are absolute tense. Some ideas wobble a bit, and a lot of its power depends on when and how you watch it, I think. And honestly, that's why I keep coming back to it. Not because it's a surprise to me anymore, but because it shows me something slightly different every time. I really like this movie. This is just my take on rewatching it, revisiting it. I hope you liked it. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye bye.